Welcome. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us today on this Facebook conversation. This evening, we're very fortunate to have with us Julie Park, who is an alumni of the International Crime and Justice Masters at John Jay College. And we also have the director of the program, Dr. Gohar Patrician. So just a few words about each of them. Julie is currently a UNICEF Human Resource Officer with 6 years dedicated in international affairs, communications, and partnerships. Before her current position, she worked with the UNOCC, which is the United Nations Operations and Crisis Center, and Outreach Division in UN headquarters. She obtained her master's in international crime and justice in 2019. Julie, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm very curious to get talking with you soon. And we are extraordinarily fortunate to have with us this evening Dr. Gohar Patrician. She's currently an associate professor in the Department of Criminal Justice and the director of the International Crime and Justice Master's Program at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. She is both a quantitative researcher and crime scientist, and her research focuses on testing the application of environmental criminology and opportunity theories of crime, with a particular focus on legal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Dr. Patrician has published over 24 scholarly articles and book chapters on the topic of wildlife trafficking and IUU fishing. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. So we'll get started. We'll start with the first question with Julie Park, our alum of the ICJ program. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, including when you graduated, a little bit more about your current position and how you got there, for example.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Julie. I graduated International Crime and Justice program, master's program in John Jay 2019. During that time, I was also full-time with the UNOCC, Operations and Crisis Center of UN. And ever since then, I recently moved to UNICEF headquarters in New York. So currently, I am a HR officer as well as an international specialist, particularly on managing projects with community building and community events, building partnerships with NGOs, private sectors and governments to create programs and to kind of have like a joint program opportunities. And also when I work on these projects, I want to advertise it and I want to promote what we're doing, promote the work of UNICEF. So I create videos. Sometimes I write articles about our projects and the work of UNICEF in the field and in the headquarters. While I was in the program, I was a full-time student as well as a staff in UN headquarters. So I guess throughout the event, I can talk about my experience working full-time and being a student at the same time. I'm looking forward for it.
Thank you, Julie. Absolutely. I would love to hear more about your experience in juggling both aspects of your life. And I'm sure students are very interested in learning more about that. Thank you for sharing. So now we will go to our director, Dr. Patrician. Why could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivates you to be director of the ICJ program?
Sure, thank you. And thank you for the introduction. So I, as you said, I'm an associate professor in the Department of Criminal Justice, and I have also been directing the International Crime and Justice Program for 4 years. I'm going into my 5th year. I'm extremely proud of the program, all the wonderful things that we have done from the program, and I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to talk about it. I'm also teaching. I belong to the Department of Criminal Justice within John Jay College. So what motivates me to direct this program? I think there are two major motivating factors. The first one is the students. The opportunity to actually interact with my students who come from an extraordinarily diverse background and interests and experience and wit and everything. So, and we always try to create opportunities for networking, minus the COVID situation. We still did the networking virtually, but we do create these opportunities because it's always an opportunity for us to get to know our students, the students to get to know us and kind of learn from each other. And the second motivation is really the faculty. I'm working with an extraordinary body of internationally renowned faculty who teach in our program, who come from multiple departments. So it's not a one department program. It's a program that has pulled together brilliant faculty with international renown from multiple departments, including political science, criminal justice, anthropology, sociology, you name it. I think we have pretty much all departments represented within the program. So it's truly rewarding to be learning from both the students and the faculty. So I guess it's more of a little bit of a selfish reason why I want to direct it, because it was also very rewarding for myself being the director.
That sounds fun, actually, with such a diverse group of faculty in one space interacting with students. So that actually sounds fun. Thank you. So Julie, maybe you could start off in sharing a little bit about what stands out to you most about when you were completing your master's in terms of your experience. Maybe it was courses, professors, an internship, or anything in particular that stands out to you.
I think I will end up adding more and strongly agreeing with what Professor Patrician has mentioned. I think the professors here at John Jay has been really amazing community. They really made sure that I, as a student, was well supported, well encouraged, and to ensure that I'm learning the materials right in many different aspects. Like you said, the professors had criminology background, but at the same time they have different backgrounds simultaneously. So they bring a lot of, I guess, colors to this program. I think from my courses, some of them, international crime and justice in relations to environment aspect, feminism, art, human rights, international law and policies. So I really was able to learn in depth in this various field. That was one. And of course, the professor there, really they have amazing work in the past, and currently it's still ongoing. And to be able to have a discussion with someone who has a great research, who are the authors of their own books and have this amazing academic background. Not only that, but to have a professional background to be able to support me was, I think it was really great to have that support. And also, I think amongst all courses, I had to say capstone was really the highlight of my learning experience. Although all courses were really interesting to me, but capstone in my final semester has been really great in a way that I got the opportunity to work with people from certain organization. For example, it was not a mock case, it was a real case, and I get to work with like people who are in the field at the moment, and what we're doing and what we're me and my classmates, what we were researching, and conducting interviews, these are actually real added value to that organization at the moment. So just knowing that and to be part of that was already very meaningful. But then at the same time, I could add this in my CV and make my resume stronger. So I would say really the faculty members, this community, how they make you feel during this academic experience while learning, and the capstone particularly was really good. Thank you.
Julie, thank you so much for sharing that. I really like how you captured the essence of by saying that the faculty really bring, colors to the program. I think that was so well said and captured the essence of what I think Professor Patrician was saying. But we have fabulous faculty in the program at John Jay, but we also have fabulous students. And so I think the next question, we're going to shift a little bit. If Professor Patrician, if we could talk a little bit about the composition of the students in the program, right? Are they full-time? Are they part-time? And what are their goals?
Mm-hmm. Our students come from all walks of life. They can be recent graduates who have just finished their bachelor's degree and are looking into furthering their education by obtaining a master's degree, or we have people who have already, 10, 15, 20 even years of work experience and very career driven, very established in their fields, and they just come into the program to pretty much strengthen one aspect of their experience or training that they think will apply to their works that they're currently doing. We don't really technically have the part-time, full-time distinction because it's really up to the students to decide on their own what fits best for them at what period of time. So for one semester, they can do full-time course load, which is 9 credits. At another semester, if let's say, their work picks up at some point and they need to really slow down with the program, they're free to take only 2 classes or 6 credits instead of 9, etc. So most of the students in our program we have a lot of the International Crime and Justice Bachelor students who are from John Jay, continuing on to their masters. So that's one type of student body within the program. We also have, like I said, working professionals, for example, in the banking system, who have only finance training, but they're doing, let's say, forensic accounting or some kind of investigative work, but they don't really have the criminal justice training for that. So they come into the program to learn more of the crime and justice aspect of their work, but they're, the finance people, and so forth. So most of the students' goals, right, I would say, are really to get involved and engaged in an international career. So they're looking to work in international organizations, just like Julie is doing, whether it's or federal law enforcement agency that has an international focus, or an international NGO that has the works established across the world and so forth. And many of them have succeeded obtaining the careers that they have wanted, after graduating from our program.
Thank you. It seems as if the students are as diverse as and colorful as the faculty. But it's interesting what you said about the part-time, full-time. So it seems as if the students are provided flexibility in developing their schedules so that it works around whatever else they have kind of going on in their life, right? So they don't have to declare full-time, part-time.
No, most certainly not. And I also wanted to add to that in the recent few years, especially, we have seen an influx in international applicants, and we're extremely proud of having people from all over the world coming and pursuing their degree at John Jay, and specifically in the International Crime Justice Program. So they end up going back to their homes and then serving at their homes as in federal agencies within their countries, or NGOs that are, headquartered within their countries or have branches in their countries and so forth. So
That's really great.
highlight, I think, that I love.
That's really great.
International point. So
That's awesome. Great. So Julie, maybe you could share with us, and you kind of mentioned it in the beginning a little bit, but what was the most challenging aspect of completing your degree? I'm sure there were several challenges, but the most challenging.
Oh, yes, for sure. I think the most challenging part, obviously, was time management for me, while having a full-time job and to take a number of courses throughout the semester. It was really challenging time management wise, because it's like this. I go to work from 9 to 5, and then at 5 I need to run to school, and at 6 the class the course starts, and then around 8 to 9 I finish. But from there, I also need to spend some time to do assignments, readings, and so forth. So definitely that part was very challenging in the beginning. Actually, throughout the year or two, it was quite challenging in aspects. I got to overcome a little bit in a way, but also it really depended on the assignments and the projects I was given, the presentation, the research, writing, and on top of the regular work. I think the other part was also, I think it's similar to what I just mentioned, but the reading assignment, not to really scare the prospective students, but there are a lot of readings, but they're all really good readings. So I think that's what makes me motivate and allow me to have fun reading it, because it's not just reading a bunch of old papers or something for the sake of doing homework. I see the meaning of it and I bring questions, but the only thing was that with this limited time, I felt that I need to absorb the reading in depth to be able to participate in discussion, which is good, right? It's that's what learning is about. But it was very challenging for me in terms of preparing what to say, because it comes from not just skimming through or knowing the context, but you need to understand the context, then kind of prepare. I English is not my first language. I am from Korea, so just kind of prepare what I'm going to say, and sometimes participating in discussion can be a bit intimidating, but really throughout the time I've gotten used to it. I've gotten to grasp to the learning or the objectives of the reading. I got the sort of tip, like I don't know, like kind of a way to grasp the main points to prepare what I'm gonna say. So I think in a way, time management wise, I try to set up some fake deadlines. So let's say it's due on Friday. I say, okay, on my calendar, I say it's due by Wednesday or Thursday. So then I am, kind of tight in reading and trying to complete that in a time in advance. So then I can attend class right. For the preparation for discussion, I think it's really the matter of me getting used to speak. Later on, I didn't really need to necessarily prepare what I'm going to say, but just the matter of exposure and practicing and having this experience in a daily basis that helped me also to have this kind of presentation skills later after I graduate as well.
Julie, thank you so much for sharing your experience, and also for sharing tips in terms of how you address those challenges that I'm sure others and students will find very useful. Thank you, Julie. And so on a similar note, Professor Patrician, what's the biggest challenges that from the students enrolled in the program encounter from your experience? What are the problems, the challenges that they come to you with?
I think I want to absolutely echo what Julie said. Time management, I think, has been the ongoing challenge, partly because I think partly because many of the students in the program are, working professionals, so they need to be able to balance work with studies, and they are also very ambitious working professionals, so they end up always taking more than they can handle in the beginning. And I think that we have realized that early on in the program, and what we advise them, for example. So with that, all of that said, I think the program has a very well established kind of advisement infrastructure, so that we already know what to anticipate, what the challenge will be, so we advise them accordingly. So for example, when students come in and they're ready to take 5 classes a semester, we absolutely discourage them from doing that. We tell them that's impossible, not in this program, not if you're working full time, not even if you are not working at all, right? So 5 classes is a terrible idea to get started with. So we always advise them to take slowly in the beginning, and then they can to give themselves time to adjust to the program's requirements, to the faculty's expectations, and so on and so forth. And then they can assess for themselves whether they're really able to handle, let's say, more than 2 classes or more than 3 classes a semester. But they don't really have to rush taking more than 3 classes anyway, because about 4 years ago, we started offering summer classes, a lot of them, which incorporate both core and elective classes, so that gives them the time to catch up, right? If they haven't taken 3 classes a semester, which is the calculation, if they do so, they will graduate from the program in 2 years. They can pretty much make up for those classes in the summer and still remain within the 2-year time frame for graduating, or even graduate earlier if they take a few more classes in the summer. So we have already anticipate some of the challenges they may have, and I think the biggest challenge is the time management and the workload, and we have found already some solutions preventing them from getting into a situation where they're struggling within the program or something along those lines. One other thing we advise them is we tell them, there are certain classes that have certain degrees of difficulty. So we tell them, maybe you should take this foundational classes the first semester, and then do those more difficult classes a little bit later in the program. That way you will know, you have built up for yourself some kind of understanding, right, of the expectations of the faculty, workload and costs and so forth.
That's such good and sensible advice to give to students. Taking 5 or 6 classes at a time is definitely a no-no. And the summer classes, if you can, I think students tend to find more time to complete those courses. So those are great suggestions and pieces of advice. Julie, what do you know now that you wished you knew prior to applying and enrolling in the program, or even prior to completing the program?
Yeah, no, I have to echo Professor Patrician, because if I am given the opportunity to participate this program now, I don't think I think to really maximize the learning experience, I would actually maybe take leave from work and to be a completely like a full-time student while not working. Sorry, but just was not making sense. Meaning I would fully commit to learning and being in this school, because I think that because of work, I think I've missed some other great opportunities to really interact with classmates, and some of the certificate. I believe I don't know if there's still certificate programs. I would have definitely done this as well. I kind of missed this opportunity in a way because I was engaged in full-time job. if it is possible, I would do that. But I know, of course, financial aspect is also very important to be able to, afford for to go to school and everything. For me, I think I would have maybe try to apply in advance to see if there are any scholarships or grants or any other opportunities I can pull to be able to really commit fully to school. If not, just like a professor has mentioned, just kind of span out the workload, which I believe I did in a way to take summer and winter courses in my case. But definitely maybe the last semester I could have left it in a way that I only take capstone or only take the last, the internship or something to really commit. And that way I would be able to use my last semester time, which I think is kind of in a golden time too, in a way, because that's when you can really kind of direct where you want to go after you graduate. Where do you want to go? Where do I want to go? Or what kind of field, what kind of function, and what entity? I think I believe at the moment I focus more on organization, the organization that I'm interested. But I think I could have really focused on job function and necessarily. What I'm doing now, it's in HR, but I'm trying to pull in a way that it's touching into either learning, either like auditing process or something. Definitely in any position, you can pull it in a way that it's relevant to what I learned from the master's program. But I think later on, I believe I spent a little more time on, how do I design this given responsibilities to relate to my learning, my master's degree, and so forth. So if I'm given a chance, I would fully commit to school. That's my personal preference. Of course, people have different situations. Second of all, I would really use my second year, the beginning of second year, I would already really reach out to professors, attend their office hours, really communicate to see what kind of resources the school can provide, to see what kind of internship or what kind of fellowship and so forth, to already be in it, so then it's smooth for any sort of career transition or career start, and then you can kind of start smoothly after you graduate.
Thank you for the reflection, Julie. That's a lot to consider. And I think that was super helpful, and especially in terms of reaching out in terms of resources and scholarships prior to applying, or even when you are enrolled already. Thank you, Julie. So the next question is for Dr. Patrician. And could you share what skills and knowledge students obtain in the program specifically, and how they obtain these skills and knowledges? Is it directly just through courses or other like internships like Julie mentioned? What skills and how do they obtain them?
I think they obtain a variety of skills. I think the biggest one is the knowledge base. They like Julie mentioned, there's a lot of reading, and all of that reading comes with building a very strong foundational knowledge about the topics covered, as core classes in the program or as electives and so on. So they do build, I think, in the end, a very broad knowledge about many different issues, international crime and justice issues. They learn about, their courses on crime, justice, and cultural struggles. So they learn about different cultural struggles, right, within different countries. They learn international criminal law. They learn transnational crime, international crime, human rights, terrorism, environmental crimes. I mean, there are lots of different options for the students to enrich their knowledge, and enrich their knowledge in a way that will serve their careers the best, right? So they do, and another, I think, aspect or a skill that they learn, I think, is the analytical component. In every course, they're required to not just only obtain the knowledge, but also be able to apply it. So apply it, analyze it, understand it, explain it, make sense of it, and then draft their own skills or expertise on a certain topic. So I think it's the analytical, it's the research, it's the writing, and so forth. I think in addition to the courses, students in the past 2 years especially have been receiving the opportunity to conduct research with faculty. So they have had various stipends, either through graduate studies through the dean, or from within the program, which when our funds allowed, or through the college, etc. So we have created those new opportunities for the students so that they can actually engage in hands-on research with faculty, so that all the knowledge they acquire, right, from different sources, they learn how exactly is that knowledge produced. So they become producers of knowledge and not only the consumers of knowledge. And we think that that's also a very important skill and experience that they need to learn, especially when some of them do end up going into graduate programs, the PhD programs. And they become extremely competitive in the graduate school market when they're out there to applying for PhD programs. And I think the program prepares them really well if they have those goals as well.
Right. So no matter where they end up, they'll be able to, apply those skills, use their knowledge, and create knowledge, right, to improve and kind of push the button forward. I think that's fantastic. So Julie, kind of building on that a little bit, like if you were in the position to hire new graduates from the program, what skills and knowledge would you be looking for in your prospective new hire?
It's kind of difficult for me to say, but I think generally I've seen, I come across, different assignments or consultancies or positions and their responsibilities. When I review them, I think if not 99%, every one of them requires a clear and strong communication skills. Because this is simply because, on a day-to-day basis, the assignment you do, it's, emailing from to different clients or internally, externally, and with your own team. It's really important that you communicate clearly from my perspective. At the same time, this can really vary depending on what it is. It can be as simple as email, but case review, research, or a proposal, or just to simply kind of send out an invite and so forth. So I think that's the key. Also, what was very helpful for me was writing different research papers and also to build PowerPoints for presentations. I think that really helped me in real life in my position and previous positions as well, to make a very concise, communicative visuals to deliver my ideas. And I think recently, maybe it's just a coincidence, but I came across a lot of project or program management and data analysis and so forth. So I think all these you can kind of learn from the school, but also it's, for example, project management. I think it's more like you can also pick up personally as well. It even includes, like, I don't know, maybe creating a social event for yourself among classmates, like let's gather together. It starts from all like in different sort of settings. So I guess all in the end, I would say communication skills. I think data is pretty, I think it's rising as well. And also project management, just based on my personal experience in the past couple of weeks.
That sounds great. That sounds like skills and knowledge that you could obtain by doing the ICJ master's program. So that's fantastic.
Yes.
Great. So, Dr. Patrician, where do students typically end up after completing their ICJ masters?
I think to sum the types of organizations where our students have received job offers from, I would probably just categorize them into three major groups, right? So the one being the international organizations, which I mentioned, including the Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, International Rescue Committee, and of course UN. We have had a lot of our students, ending up in the UN for different UN agencies, different and so forth. So that's one type, right? And then the other group is private organizations, such as, for example, banks or consulting firms that work for banks. For example, we have had students in the past getting into Exiger, which is a consulting firm that does money laundering investigations on behalf of banks. So it's either them working directly for a bank, which they have. So they have worked for multiple banks also. I think TD Bank was one of them, and Chase and Bank of America, etc. But they also are able to work at consulting firms that work for those banks to conduct those investigative projects, or to conduct this investigative work for them. And then there's the third branch, right, which is law enforcement. We have had students ending up in the FBI. So if they're very law enforcement oriented, they work for the FBI, US Customs, the immigration, etc. And then a lot of them actually ended up working for the US Department of State, US Department of Commerce, and so on and so forth. So I think those are like three big places where they end up being, and all of which, most of which to have the international orientation.
That's exciting. That's great to hear that that's where most of our students end up, and I think quite motivating for prospective students to hear that they could end up there. So one last question each before we wrap up. So Julie, if you could give one piece of advice to prospective students, what would that be?
I think for whatever opportunities that they face, whether it is classwork, or it can be in a school setting, or at their job, or during or after school programs, whatever opportunity that they have, let's say this is the responsibility that they're given, and maybe the shape of this responsibility, the points of this responsibility, or maybe let's say the project, the school project is to write something about this topic A. And if you want to eventually go to this country to work on this project, that is your goal after school, after the program, then make it in massage in a way, or negotiate, or talk with your professors, or talk with your supervisor or whatnot. I think it's applicable in any situation, in a way that it's in a shape that reaches the points that you want to have. I guess it can be a particular skills or a particular topic. And I think any professors or any supervisors would be willing to kind of look into this, to make it your experience, make it the experience that's best and most fit for you, for the goal that you want to go for. So I would say make it your experience, whatever the task is given, schoolwork or actual, like a job work. Make it in a way that helps you. And I think it's in the end benefiting for both the person that you are working with, or yourself. And that's to kind of motivate you and to bring the best outcome out of yourself, I think.
Those are great words of wisdom, Julie. Thank you. So the last question for Dr. Patrician. So for students who may be considering completing the International Criminal Justice Program, Master's Program, how would you answer the question, why complete this Master's Program?
I think the answer would be because it's an awesome program, first of all. And also, I think it provides the foundational skill and knowledge that will propel them, I think, in the job market significantly, because the way we treat every student. I think I want to add to this whole thing. So apart from the knowledge base, right, that they obtain and all the skills that I've also mentioned earlier, I think our program is very community oriented. So we really know each other. The students know each other. The students know the professors. We're very well aware of each other. So, and with that awareness of each other, we have created a sense of community where we're there to help each other for whatever reasons they have. And so we're really aware of our students and the professors and what we can do with each other, for each other, and so forth. So do complete the program. You will benefit significantly, not only from the knowledge you will obtain, but also the networking opportunities that do exist from within the program that we have created from not only with other students and our alumni, which we're very proud of, but also through various events that we organize from within the program that are really geared toward helping you complete in a way that will benefit you in whatever career you choose to pursue after that. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us this evening. I know that I learned a lot about the International Crime and Justice Master's Program offered at John Jay, and I'm sure that our viewers have also learned a lot. And so I really appreciate you sharing your insight and recommendations and experiences with us. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share about the program.
Awesome. You have a great night.
Thank you. You too.